Hey, today I wanted to show you the built-in OSUninstall feature in Windows 10. This is the feature that helps you to go back from one build to the previous build. In my example, I'm on 1809 and I'm going to go back to the previous build, which was 1709. Alright, so to do that, you would go back to earlier version build. It just opens the settings, go back to previous build of Windows 10. Start here. This requires elevation, so you have to be an admin. Right, and then it starts to think for a little bit. This won't take long. Alright, sure, you know what, let's check some boxes and see what happens here. Tell us more. Because I don't like new stuff. Next. Okay, one thing I'm going to show you is where those in the registry, when you do a rollback or OSUninstall, it saves those keys to the local machine system setup and into a subfolder called rollback, which is not created yet, but once the rollback happens, it will be there. So that's one way for you to know if a rollback has happened. That's going back to Wizard. No, I don't want to do that. Let's see. After going back, you'll have to reinstall some programs. Okay, so anything that you've installed since upgrading will be gone, and you'll lose some changes to the settings you install. Are your files backed up? This shouldn't affect them, but it's best to be prepared. So as for my demo, I'm just going to copy some files into my documents. So I'm copying the MDT folder, which has some junk in there. Okay, not a whole lot there. Let's okay, so let's grab that one instead. Let's grab my logs folder here. We'll copy that into documents. Alright, so now, anyway, I added a couple more folders, so we'll go ahead and close those out. And we're going to install an application before we go back. So we're going to install FileZilla here as an example of what happens to the application when you go back to the previous version. So this is just another thought. If you have upgraded and you've installed patches for applications like newer versions of Chrome, all that does get reverted as well. So once you're back in the old OS, you'll probably get repatched with the latest updates at that time. Alright, so as you can see, FileZilla is now installed on my computer. Yay. Alright, we'll go ahead and click next. Don't get locked out. Okay, good information. Yep, let's go back. So at this point, it restarts your machine and then starts the process of rolling back, or OSUninstall as the correct terminology for it. So at this point, I just want to cover a couple of talking points. This works pretty well in the home environment and allows you to go back if you run into any problems, like with any of your software like TurboTax or, well, anything that you've had problems with when you've upgraded, perhaps even a hardware issue, and you want to go back until you've contacted the vendor or you see that they've related an updated patch for it. You might just have to update your drivers before you try upgrading again. But this allows you that ability to go back. So in a corporate environment where you have like Config Manager or other deployment tools, it could be a little bit more difficult. For instance, with Configuration Manager, if you're doing in-place upgrades using a task sequence, when the machine restores to the previous version, it's in a place where Config Manager is not happy, and I'll show you that here in a moment. So that's the main reason I built this little scheduled task that checks to see if the machine has done a OSUninstall. If it has, it goes through and tries to bring the Configuration Manager client back to life. So this point, it's just going to keep spinning. I could keep talking, but I'll probably just cut out part of the video. Drinking some coffee. Okay, so now we're coming up. It did its reboot and now should be at a point where it will allow us to log in here in a moment. Alright, so this is the legal text. It shows that there's an upgrade in progress. That is because when it took the snapshot, there was an upgrade in progress, so it's putting it back to that same point. And this is what we do in our corporate environment, where we put legal text here, so while it's upgrading, people know not to log back in. And we also have a nice little background that will show up for the user not to log in. So that is stuff that would need to be fixed once you've logged back in. Set your wallpaper or your background and fix your legal text. Alright, so as you can see, FileZilla is no longer installed. It is gone. It left a shortcut because it's on your user profile on your desktop. But documents, as you can see, the MDT folder and the logs folder that I just created are still there. So those came along for the ride. Alright. Okay. Oh, I don't want that one. Services. Alright. SMS is running. Alright. I'm guessing my script beat me to it. CM trace. I was going to show you that it was disabled. But, so my script beat me to it. I have an OSUninstall script that is running. It took the machine out of provisioning mode and then started the CCM eval, which then kicked in everything. So I didn't even get to show you that it was busted before my little handy dandy script fixed it for you. Let me show you task scheduler and just show you the quick ins and outs of how this solution works. Normally, well, you know, and I can still demo one thing. Software Center. So if you were to launch this right away, it would be completely broken and just give you pop-ups like, hey, try it again later, but it would never ever work because the machine is in provisioning mode and the services are disabled. But let's look at installation status here. As you can see, it still thinks it's running the task sequence. It's installing the upgrade, which it kind of is, but it's not, because it already did and then we went back. So the client is in a state where it's trying to run a task sequence. So part of my solution does fix that. So we have a scheduled task. I just have it called OSUninstall Recovery, and triggers, I have it at startup and then once a day, just to make sure it covers its basis, actions, and then it just runs a PowerShell script that is saved to that location. So the PowerShell script, what it is doing is it is checking for registry keys and checking to see if they exist after a rollback. So setup, rollback. See, this is here now because I don't like new stuff. So it actually recorded that information from that wizard. So the script, it goes and out here and checks that is the rollback key exists. If it does, it runs a script. If it does not exist, it just does nothing. So once it runs that, it goes up here, creates this key called OSUninstall ran, and eventually will increment it during the script to get to different parts. In the script, because it does take quite a while, I have some safety nets in case people reboot the machine, so that it can pick up relatively close to where it left off during the process. So for fun, well, let's just show you the script. All right. Open. Yep, that's the one. All right, so it's checking to see if the rollback key, and then I have a temporary spot, which is where I create the keys, and then where the log file goes. And then I've got several functions throughout here which do the different various tasks. And then once we get down here, basically it checks for that path. If the rollback key exists, it goes through, starts logging, and starts fixing the machine. It runs a function to pull itself out of provisioning mode and logs that along the way, and then it triggers CCM eval, and then it adds that registry key saying that it's at number 1, and then it waits 5 minutes to make sure that the client is fully active before continuing to go through and trigger policy updates. And then down here it will finally kick back out, and it will actually set the registry key to 3, so the next time that you run the script at startup or that daily interval, it won't actually do anything, because it will all these if statements would actually be evaluated as false. Now once you upgrade again, this scheduled task were to run again, it would find that the rollback key is no longer there. So we have the if it's true, it does stuff, but if it's not true, it would go through and delete those temporary keys. So once you upgrade to 1809 and the schedule task triggers, it will clean itself up for the next time you run. All right, I hope that this was a beneficial demo, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. So let's see, this is still running, and it's almost done. So it still thinks. We'll just let this finish up here so that you can see what this actually looks like when it's complete. Because when we're done with this, we don't want to think that it's in the middle of a task sequence. Alright, excellent. So it's been reset to failed. This is the light version of a solution that we'll be presenting to MMS and that I'll be eventually blogging. This is just quick and dirty, get yourself back up and running, versus doing a huge scenario where we actually account for many situations. We update the legal text to let people know that OSUninstalls happened. We capture metrics. We do quite a bit of things. This here is just a quick break fix, get you back up and running after someone either inadvertently or just without a lot of wisdom went and did an OSUninstall without understanding the consequences to the configuration manager client. All right, you guys have a great day, and catch you later.